What's up, guys? Hello, Squeak Freaks. This is the Squeaky Unclean podcast, episode number 13. We actually recorded this episode on the 13th, Friday the 13th, and it's the 13th episode. I mentioned it a bit with our guest, who this week is Mr. Wayne Bowles Jr. He is he's actually the founder of a program called Sober Ride. It's in Windsor, Essex County, and Chatham as well. And he also is a brand new stand-up comedian. And we sat down, we had a little chat, and it was a lot of fun. He told us a lot of good stuff, and he had some great stories. Here we go. Hello, guys. We are live. Well, not live. We're recording this, but this is from the CJAM Studios. We have a very special guest in the studio today. We have Wayne Bowles. I believe you're the founder of Sober Ride.
Yes, I am.
Is that correct? Yeah. How long has that been going on?
I've had it up and running in Chatham since shortly after New Year's, and I've only been in Windsor since the beginning of July.
Oh, wow. So you're brand new.
Brand new.
Holy crap. Yeah, you're also a new comic, too, and that's kind of how I met you, because we were at the Quarry. Shout out to the Comedy Quarry. I was at the Comedy Quarry, and you that was your first time on stage, is it not?
It was. It was my very first time.
Yeah, and you said that you have to get blitzed, or you have to kind of, get yourself in the right mode before you can go up there and do your own thing.
I do. I'm a pot smoker, and the first day that I went up on stage, I knew I was going up about 48 hours before. Josh Haddon got a hold of me and said that they were going to do an open mic, and I agreed to do it. And I spent the next day trying to find reasons to not do it. Mm-hmm. But then I said, I'm just going to do it. And I got up there, but I had smoked almost a nickel bag that afternoon. I kept smoking joints thinking the next one was going to calm me down. Then I would be able to do it.
Yep. But
it wasn't. I just got high, crazy high, and then just got on stage and let loose.
Yeah, and you did pretty good, too, It's kind of funny. Rob said, shout out to Rob Kennedy, too. He's like, you're kind of angry for a pothead, But I don't think it's anger. I think it's more passion. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one of your bits was like that chicken costs $6 a pound. And it's like impossible to get munchies now. I'm not going to try to do your joke, but you know what I mean?
No, exactly. And I am angry, though. I am angry about the prices of food because I almost feel like we're being starved off our own planet. Mm-hmm. If, like when e-bikes came out with the extreme high prices of gas, when people started buying e-bikes, they had the system beat. They didn't need to rely on gas. But the one thing we all need to rely on is food. Mm-hmm. And when they start fucking us on the price of food, we're screwed.
It's like whenever there's like an E. coli scare, any type of scare like that, people run into almost an immense panic because we're not like, like plants can create their own food. Most plants can create their own food. We have to kind of live off of that. So whenever you see the growth in the population, that not like obviously not in Canada. Canada, we're the size of California, Nevada, and maybe a part of Washington. But just the overall planetary growth and how many people are repopulating. I mean, everybody's got different opinions on this, but on some level, you only got so many resources. There's only so many people to feed. It's an issue.
Yeah, it sure is.
Well, yeah. Anyways, getting back to the stand-up, though, I mean, you said you had to talk yourself into it, and you had to make sure that you were in the right mindset. A lot of the times we try and talk ourselves out of something, even though we know that it's the right thing that we should do. It sounds a bit anecdotal, but I believe that sometimes you just have to kind of push yourself because it's those nights when you don't want to go up, when you don't want to go on stage, and you don't want to do something where you see true human character and where our personalities kind of shine through.
Yeah, exactly. One of the biggest fears I had about even attempting to do stand-up was being heckled. It was just a huge fear of mine because I wasn't sure how I would react. I'm a pretty confrontational person by nature, and I couldn't guarantee myself that I wouldn't jump off the stage to try and choke someone out.
Yeah.
So I avoided it.
No, absolutely. And the thing about that, too, is that I've quoted this before, and I apologize if you guys have already heard this story, but tactic for dealing with male and female hecklers: ignore the women and emasculate the men.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
the men just want to show you up, and like, oh, this fucking dick, I'm funny. I could do what he does, and the honesty, the grim reality is, if you actually could do what any of us could do, then you'd actually be doing it. You know, and that's the thing. And even with women, a lot of the times, female hecklers I find want attention. They want attention.
Exactly.
Like we all want validation. It's just in a different context,
And I kind of got my first heckle last night. when I was talking about peanut butter being $8 a jar, the one girl in the front, she's like, actually it's $6 this week.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, that's so much
It's like,
better.
where are you shopping?
Yeah.
I want to fucking go where you're shopping at.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't really a heckle, though. It was more
No.
so just like...
She was just pointing shit out. But it was the first time I had ever had anybody interrupt my flow. And it did. It fucked me right up.
Mm-hmm.
It totally blew the flow of where I was going.
Yeah. I don't know. The key is to, like, not letting it affect it. And I find sometimes, like, everybody handles hecklers differently or audience participation. I find one of the keys is that you got to listen.
Yeah,
you gotta listen to
exactly.
what they're saying. Because a lot of guys have lines in their head, and they're like, oh, I'm going to smash this guy, I'm going to slam this guy. I mean, yeah, if they deserve it, go right ahead. You know, but sometimes I think it's best to just let them talk and make the audience hate them.
Yeah,
and
true.
then you automatically have them on their side, and then all you have to do is kind of drive that ship.
And where, like, it kind of worked to my benefit, because where I was going with peanut butter at $8 a jar was that you could get head cheaper than you could get peanut butter now. And then when she said it was, well, $6, and I'm like, well, actually, I don't know if I could compete with $6 head.
The question is, do you want that type of $6 head?
Yeah, there'd be a lot of teeth involved.
Oh, yeah, I think there'd be a lack of teeth involved.
Oh yeah, probably.
Oh man, yeah, no. But anyways, you said that you run Sober Ride too. You actually did other work. You know, like a lot of people in Windsor, you did trade. You worked in trades.
I grew up in interlocking paving stone. I've framed townhouses. I've done a lot of industrial kind of work. Yeah.
Yeah, and you started young too.
I did. I was actually 12 when I started working for my dad's paving stone company.
Wow, this is like post-industrial revolution.
Oh, it was, man.
It's like some Oliver Twist shit.
Yeah, I hated it too. I grew up hating interlocking stone. I loved the life that it created for us, the stability that it created for us. But at 12 years old, during my summer holidays, I wanted to be swimming with my friends.
Yeah.
You know, chasing the girls. You know, I didn't want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go out and work in the sun all day. I had other shit that I wanted to do. But when your boss is your dad, you know what I mean? You don't have a lot of leeway. It's not like you can just call in sick. He'd come down and drag me out of bed by my fucking hair.
It's difficult to work for a family too, and it's especially difficult because now with the economic climate, I mean, as we were coming in here, you said, "Oh, I wish I could come back and just do this again." And you know what I mean? I hear that so much sometimes with people like, "Oh, if I could just use my brain instead of just using my body."
Yeah, exactly. Because I kicked the shit out of my body growing up. I never did anything as far as really using my brain. I understood how paving stone worked and, you know, landscape design. Like, I could create and I could do, we did award-winning work as far as landscape design and interlocking driveways. But I never stimulated myself as far as education. I rebelled in school. I hated it. I felt like I was just being programmed. And
essentially we all are, though, because it's a specific way of learning. It's a specific style of intaking information, of interpreting information. I mean, I can't remember where I heard this quote, but it was that nobody teaches critical thinking.
Yeah.
In any type of school. I mean, not even really in university sometimes. It's essentially a skill that you kind of have to hone by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even just having like a built-in bullshit detector. It's just about looking from things from a different perspective and not always accepting what somebody else tells you. And I've been like that because of my situation. You know, people like to fluff and like to lie to you and so, and not lie, but, you know, kind of gloss over the facts. Say, well, it'll get better, it'll do this and it'll do that. Whereas, you know, to me, when you address reality and when you deal with reality and when you find an outlet, that's when you achieve true happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I first like met you and hung out with you, man, I could tell that you were like you've been through some stuff. And you said, you know, like even before you came on this podcast, you said, I'm an open book. Ask me anything you want. You know?
I don't lie about anything. I don't have to lie.
Exactly, man. You know, because you said that you had, how many heart attacks did you have?
6.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm 41. I had my first heart attack at 32 years old.
Wow. Yeah. So like was that just from years of like the abuse on your body, or was it?
It wasn't actually years of abusing it. It was just my stepmother died of brain aneurysm on a Tuesday night, and I watched how it destroyed my dad. It just fucked his life right up, losing her. She was 54 years old, the youngest woman in her family's recorded history to ever die, and the number was like by 30 years. Like, these people lived to be in their hundreds, and she was taken at 54. And I went from smoking a crazy amount of weed to try and compensate for the pain. And I turned to cocaine. A friend of mine said, listen, I got something that'll fix that. And I jumped into a rock star coke habit. I was self-employed at the time, making more money than I deserved, and just started putting it up my nose. And in about a 9-month time span, just the sheer amount of cocaine that I did a lot of damage to my heart. And then 6 months after I quit cocaine, after my very last one, I woke up having a massive heart attack.
Yeah.
Hadn't been near coke in 6 months.
Was it because of the withdrawals, or what do you
No,
think it
I
was?
didn't withdraw.
Really?
I didn't withdraw for a second because I walked away from it for the right reasons. I had been gone for probably 2 or 3 days, out partying with friends. I told my girlfriend at the time that I was out working, and I come through the door at probably 3:15 in the morning, and I expected her and my 4-month-old son to be asleep. But they weren't. They were still up. And as soon as my son seen me, he wanted attention, wanted me to pick him up. And as soon as I touched him, I had never felt so guilty in my whole life to touch something so beautiful in the condition that I was in, with like $3,000 worth of powder in my system. And I said, fuck that. He deserves a better shot in this world than a junkie for a dad. So I slept for like 30 hours and then never went near it again. I never looked at it again.
And some people can do that.
I shut it off. I went from 8 balls for breakfast to nothing.
My
overnight.
grandfather was like that with smoking. He just like this was back in the day. So you like had the tobacco leaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they didn't put as many carcinogens or any of the other type of toxic chemicals that they put in cigarettes nowadays. But he was coughing up lungs.
Yeah.
You know, and spitting up blood. And he's like, and that's around the time that he had my mom and my aunt.
Yeah.
And so, you know, my grandmother told me that. I said, yeah, that's when he stopped.
Yeah.
Because he just told himself he had to. And, you know, everybody has a different way of dealing with stuff like that. We use substances or people or other things to compensate for what we feel like the void that's missing. You know?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Like everybody has, you notice that? Like everybody has a void that's missing. And whenever I see people now and they're behaving a certain way or acting a certain way, I wanna ask myself, I'm like, okay, what's your deal? You know what I mean? Like I know what you're presenting on the surface, but there's more to you.
And a lot of what people are missing is just happiness in their life.
Yeah.
You're forced into almost slavery. You have no choice but to work in this world. You know what I mean? You're forced to do shit jobs that you don't like.
Yeah.
Most people make next to nothing. You know, you hardly scrape by, and it's a sense of overwhelming unhappiness that just shrouds over your life. Going to a job you hate every fucking day, coming home to a family that you might hate every fucking day, because there's a lot of people who live in relationships who shouldn't live in the same province.
Absolutely
they share
not.
a house. You shouldn't let these fuckers in the same province
Absolutely. And
hate each other.
Yeah.
And I can't do that. My first heart attack flatlined me for almost 3 minutes. And during that flatline, I never heard angels singing or lights at the end of the tunnels. I just got to reflect over all the shit that was so not important in my life, all the stupid fights, all putting money in my job before my sons, and it weighed back on me. And I said, "Fuck it. I can't live like this anymore." I'm married now, just over a year. I've been with her for 6 years. And honestly, if I woke up unhappy tomorrow, I would be gone by noon. And I would hope that she would do the same. If I made her unhappy to the point where she just wanted to walk around all day and we were just going to hate on each other and fight, fuck that. Go find whatever it took to make you happy. I wouldn't wish her any ill will, because life is a short ride. Like I'm 41 now. I feel 91, but you appreciate once you experience, and it's not even a near death, because mine wasn't a near death experience. I fucking flatlined. The ride was over.
Yeah, you didn't even have your life flash before. You said it gave you a chance to reflect.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were out, could you, like, what was that experience like? Because I'm sure that, it has, for some people, it has religious connotations. It has what the brain does when you're flatlined or when you don't have that oxygen anymore. I mean, what do you remember anything like what you?
I remember
felt?
it vividly.
Really,
I remember it like it was yesterday morning. I had oxygen jammed up my nose, so my brain was being force fed oxygen.
So were you like coherent? Were you a bit Where
No,
you know?
I heard the first probably 3 or 4 seconds of the flat line of the dude. I heard that, and then the sound started to fade out, and all I could hear was the oxygen. I think it would have been the oxygen. It was just like
Yeah.
that's all I could hear. But I could watch the room. I couldn't move anything, and I thought to myself, like that little beeping sound don't sound fucking good.
No.
So I thought, you know something, just move your hand just to show yourself that you can, and I couldn't.
Hmm.
I couldn't look down at it either.
And like the fucked up part is that you were somewhat cognizant. You
I was
had-
totally cognizant.
you
Yeah,
knew what was happening, but you
Yeah.
couldn't do anything about it.
couldn't do nothing
It's
about
like
it.
you were a prisoner in your own body.
Yeah. I'm watching. I could
nuts.
see the muscles in the doctor's throat as he was screaming at people in the room. I couldn't hear what he was screaming, but I could see that he was screaming at people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to watch this. He was a Dutch kid, probably 22, 23 years old. And in my memory, he looked like he was like 19 feet tall. He was just such a tall kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he come running at me with the paddles, with the defibrillator. And I thought to myself, fuck, I hate electricity. And I never felt it. I could watch the room as my body convulsed. I could see that, I could just see the different patterns in the room because my body was being violently convulsed, but I never felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And the 174 seconds later, when my heart started again, they really had no rhyme or reason because the doctor had his fingers on my throat looking at his watch, and he was getting ready to time me out to call time of death.
Mm-hmm.
And then just all of a sudden, boop, it was back.
Hmm.
And he just looked at me. He looked straight down in my face and said, I have no idea why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, really? That's pretty fucking scary.
Exactly. And some people would say, oh, it's God's will and it's this and that, And like I said, if that's what you believe, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong because nobody knows, first of all. I mean, most likely not because, everybody's got their own personal beliefs and we kind of form our own religious affiliation and our own beliefs with our own bias, I think. But what I also found interesting is that when you were telling me about, because you told me a few of these heart attack stories, you didn't want people to feel sorry for you.
No.
That's the last thing you want. And it's funny because I feel that too, and a lot of people who have been in situations where you've had predicaments that are difficult to deal with, and people don't always know what to say, and they're trying to be polite, and, oh, well, you were like this, and you made it, and all this other stuff, and you're just like, then don't treat me differently then.
Yeah, exactly.
Just treat me exactly the same as you would, you know what I mean?
And I make no ill, I don't make fun of people's religions either. And during the 174 seconds that I had flatlined, like I said, I didn't see angels or hear angels or, nothing like that. I didn't see ancestors, my grandparents. I didn't see nothing like that. But I don't know that doesn't happen on 175 seconds.
Exactly.
I don't know. What if it happens at exactly 3 minutes? I have no idea.
Exactly.
Just my encounter is I could watch the room without being able to move in it. And if you see photographers, they use the like Vaseline on the lens to make it kind of look like it's fogged.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my vision was starting to do in about the 170.
So you were kind of going in and out, basically.
Yeah. Oh, I could feel myself fading out. I could feel that the sound, that air sound that from the oxygen, that was getting quieter, and my field of vision was shrinking as well. That the Vaseline on the lens was shrinking it down.
What was your last thought when
My
you
sons.
when your sons?
My
when you
sons.
thought that you were gonna?
Yeah.
Is that what you think got you back? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Hmm.
And my son now, like I said, when I picked up my son when I was high on cocaine, and I said to myself that I couldn't do that again, and he knows that story.
Yeah.
I've told him that story because since he was old enough to remember it, I've always called him my hero and my lifesaver, and he's never had a clue as to why I call him that. And then when he turned 10, I'm like, well, you want to know why I call you that? This is why. And I just broke it right down to him because I don't lie to him either. I'm brutally honest with my kids as well.
I think that's the right thing to do. I find that, well, kids that have honest parents or that have an honest environment are a lot more well-adjusted than people who have been repressed.
Yeah, because he knows he can say anything. He can say anything to me, and he's not going to get in trouble for what he says. I don't want him running around swearing like a sailor, but anything that approaches his mind, anything that he wants to talk about. If there's bullies at school, if there's a weird fucking hockey coach or anything like that, I know that my kids are comfortable. Yeah, man. Yeah. My 10-year-old son has got the most wicked crush on my stepdaughter's best friend right now. It's crazy. My son is 10 and she's 22. And oh man.
So he likes older women, eh?
Oh, does he ever?
I can relate.
Yeah.
I can relate, man. You know, my mom told me, she said, David, I think that you're going to end up with an older woman. I didn't know what the fuck she was talking about at the time, but I was like, now I totally get it, man.
Yeah.
I totally get it. You know, and some people are just more mature, and everybody's different in that respect. But it's good that you're open with your kids. Like I said, I think that's one of the biggest issues with the reason why people do the things that they do, and why people resort to the types of behavior. Because behavior can either be, I believe behavior is inside of you, but also it's a habit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like when I drank as much as I did before, it was a habit.
Yeah.
Like I would just drive by a bar and say, oh, I can just go have a beer.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to me writing jokes, or you know, writing a song, or working on my school, or calling my friends, or you know, going out places and meeting people. I was like, oh, I'll just go have a drink and chill.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that would make me happy. Whereas what I didn't realize at the time was that I didn't really like that. You know, I didn't like the people that I was around if I didn't know them. I didn't like the environment. You ever notice that whenever you go to every single bar, there's always depressing ass music?
Yeah, always.
Like I was at one last night, and I was turning to the bartender. I said, why can't we fucking play some AC/DC or something nice and upbeat?
Yeah.
It's always this fucking just this downer. You know what I mean? Because I guess that makes people want to drink more. I'm not sure what the psychology is behind it.
But most bars are depressing atmospheres anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like it. I don't drink, you know what I mean? I really don't. So I don't have a lot of experience in bars other than going to pick drunk people up in bars to drive them home.
You could have picked me up 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, no, it's more like 4. I'm lying because I'm going to be 23. I told you this story. I was going to do a radio show, and I didn't weigh out the proper ratio of vodka to 7-Up.
Yeah.
Because I had it in a bar, and I was like, oh, I'll just put a bunch of vodka in, and I'll mix the 7-Up. The 7-Up will balance it out. And I pounded those things. I had like 7 or 8.
Wow.
And then like 4 beers. And I went to do a radio show with a friend of mine. And the next day, it's a good thing we pre-recorded it like this, because I threw up 12 times.
Oh, wow.
Like, I could have used you back then. Not sure we'd put my chair, but we'd work.
We would figure it out for sure.
No, it's true. Yeah, no, I noticed that too. You do pick up drunk people, and you said that it's sometimes you have the best stories and
oh yeah, what we do, Sober Eye designated driving services, we pick up drunk people and drive them home with their own vehicles. Mm-hmm. It's not like a cab. I'm not even allowed to pick up people without vehicles.
You're even somewhat cheaper than a cab.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Because you like considering that you bring the vehicle home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for the normal ride, I'm a few dollars more than a taxi, but if you had to take a cab back the next morning to retrieve your vehicle, or usually even if you had to throw a buddy $10 to drive you to go get your vehicle, I would still work out to be cheaper. Mm-hmm. And you get to wake up with your vehicle parked at home.
Yeah, and you're safe at home, and
safe
nobody
at
does.
Home, man.
And it's such a fucking problem I find in Windsor. You know what I mean? Like I swear to God, I read at least 2 or 3 articles this summer in you know a bunch of other news sources where it said Windsor's drunk driving epidemic or something like that.
Yeah.
Abbreviation of that. And I thought to myself, because I went to Toronto and a few other cities a couple years ago, and their transportation ran throughout the night.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the public transportation did. So the people that went downtown got the bus. You know, they had Blue Night service in Toronto. In other places, they have other programs. They set up, you have cabs and all that. You think that, like in this area in particular, we could use something like that, where the transportation, where they invest more money in that, in terms of like people's safety? Because it is a safety concern whenever you have people who are inebriated and drunk, acting belligerent, and want to get behind the wheel.
Yeah, or even if you look at downtown on a Friday, Saturday night,
Yeah.
you know, even walking, these people are inebriated and at a risk to themselves, and they're just standing around waiting for cabs.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If the buses would run, and I'm not a big fan of Windsor's buses anyway, and although I've never been on one, all my kids have used the buses, and it doesn't run as fluidly as it should.
And that's due to lack of funding and a few other aspects too. You know,
They need to get the people who run the London Transit Commission in London, Ontario. They need to get those fucking engineers to come down here for a week, and they would whip Windsor back into shape. Because London's transit, flawless. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. A friend of mine, I mentioned him before, Jeff Preston. He's a motivational speaker. He lives in London. He did a documentary on the accessibility problems that London had with their transport. But according to you, excuse me, according to you, that this is improved significantly?
Well, I'm not sure about accessible for if you're handicapped or not, but as far as, the hours and the fluidity, there is no real main terminal that you have to be at.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just and for an example, I think it's Walker and Tecumseh Road. Like if you're going out Walker towards Oldcastle, there's no real bus stop right at that corner to get you out there.
There's nothing that goes to Tecumseh, nothing to Amherstburg, not really anything out to my place past 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you expect, like I said, to me it's almost like you're setting yourself up for issues. You know that song? It's an older song. I can't remember who sings it. I could look it up, but it's called The Freaks Come Out at Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like kind of a funk, kind of that type of thing. I feel like that applies.
It does
to our downtown on the weekends because like I said, it's not the people's fault. I think.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
And what we offer, trying to get people home with their own cars, the people who use us love us. They love what we do. It's a great job. I have a lot of fun doing it. You get to meet a lot of really cool people.
Yeah. The camaraderie is definitely there.
Yeah.
And like I said, especially because people are trusting you to take their vehicle.
Yeah.
That is such a huge investment.
Yeah, for sure.
To get them home safe.
Yeah.
When they do not have control over their body. That's another thing about alcohol. Like, another reason why I don't. It doesn't have the appeal to me as I thought it did.
No,
you lose all control. You're not cognizant. And it's legal. That's the fucked up part. Like it's it should be legal. I'm not saying that we should have prohibition or anything like that. A popular sentiment that even I've heard a lot of comics say is that every drug should be legal. Which,
I don't agree with every drug should be
yeah.
legal, but the freedom of choice,
yeah.
For something like pot, there should be no way because it's just a plant. If you could smoke rose petals, if you and me dried out rose petals tomorrow and we smoked it and you and me got high off of it and we started promoting it and people were just picking rose petals and smoke them, they'd be fucking illegal the next day. It's so crazy.
It's just about the taxation.
It is.
Economy. I mean,
then don't legalize it.
Yeah.
How about just decriminalize it? Make it where some poor fucker walking down the street with a $30 bag of weed doesn't have to sit and eat supper for the next 8 weeks with people who are in for violent crimes. It's so not fair.
Oh, yeah, and the thing is that we've known this information for the longest time. I mean, the talking points have always been there. And, with Trudeau, I mean, he's trying to start, he's going with the whole legalization platform. A lot of people have been jumping on to that, especially a lot of younger people, like my generation, because I feel as if, like you're a bit older than me, but my generation where we have more information available to us, and I think that's why you start seeing, like, it's not necessarily that we're less active than the generation before us.
Yeah,
it's
you guys just have access to better information.
And I think, in a sense, as a whole, we're a bit cynical because we see the world just in a different light. And
you guys are allowed to call people on their bullshit now because you guys have access to that information. When I was growing up in public school, they would tell you, like, one puff off of a marijuana cigarette and you're going to kill your whole family for more. You know what I mean? Now you can just Google it.
Now it's like a farce.
Yeah,
it's almost a parody
it's a fucking
within
joke.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that you grew up in. Did you grow up in Nova Scotia or?
No, I've spent years of my life living on Prince Edward Island. I've lived in Nova
Prince,
Scotia though.
Okay, yeah, because you tell a bit on stage about your grandfather picking magic mushrooms.
Magic mushrooms in Prince Edward Island.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Like, so this is completely true, right?
100% true.
Okay.
In the fall, after the first few frosts. These little red magic mushrooms grow all over Prince Edward Island. I'm not sure if it's just because of the rich red soil. I have no idea why. But everywhere that there's grass on the island, there's magic mushrooms. Like everywhere. Like courthouse lawns, your mom's front lawn, like everywhere. There's magic mushrooms that grow.
Yeah. And you, like, I think the joke was that you got it as like a Christmas gift. Or something.
Oh yeah, my grandfather, he passed away many years ago, but he would send down bread bags, a fucking like a loaf of bread bag, just stuffed full of magic mushrooms in your Christmas parcel, and he always knew which one was from Granddad because it was usually just wrapped up in newspaper. Like all the stuff from my mom and my aunts would all be, wrapped up in wrapping paper, but then there would just be this big loaf-looking thing wrapped up in newspapers.
Parents must have loved that. Kids be subdued a little bit for the hour.
Well, it was one of those Christmas parcels. Like, it's not like my parents got along anyway. We were living in Ontario. My mom was in Prince Edward Island, so
Okay.
and that was usually a Christmas parcel that I opened in the privacy of my own bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So my old man never even seen shit like that.
Okay.
But it was an awesome Christmas present when you're getting like 2.5-3 pounds of mushrooms that are fucking phenomenal. Like most of the mushrooms you'll ever get around here are the little Mexican blue mushrooms, and I have no complaints with those. But if you want to try a real dose, if you want to try nearly a religious experience, I say go with the East Coast mushrooms for sure.
Okay.
Awesome. I love them. We've put them on pizzas. Like my grandfather, he would cut mushrooms up like it was weed. He would just turn it to dust and mix it in with pizza sauce. And then he would just make a pizza. Yeah. But it would be loaded. It would have great shit on it. There'd be pineapple, tons of cheese, pepperoni.
You wouldn't even taste it.
Oh, you wouldn't even taste the mushrooms.
Wow.
And then an hour later, you'd just be in fucking orbit. And my mom, who's never done drugs in her life, my mom always said she liked the smell of hash. She said the smell of hash made her want to eat it. I'm like, well, $15 a gram, you can eat all you want. I don't care. But one night when we were at my grandfather's and he had made a pizza, my mom come pulling in, and there was probably 7 or 8 of us in the room, and we were like, oh, fuck, like, try to act normal. My mom is super, super religious, born-again Christian.
Yep.
And she come in the room, and she was like, why are you guys here? Like, why are you guys bugging your grandfather? And my grandfather's like, no, I'd rather have him here. At least that way we know they're not in trouble. You know, out roaming the streets. And Georgetown, Prince Edward Island is hardly bigger than this studio room. Like, it's tiny. Maybe 300, 400 people at max.
Oh, jeez.
Tiny little place. Little fishing community on the island. And when my mom was talking, all of a sudden, I noticed that she was talking with food in her mouth. And it dawned on me that the only thing she's probably eating is this fucking pizza. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather didn't cut really small slices, and I didn't notice it right away.
Yeah, and
so
she didn't know what they looked
like.
like.
No, my mom had eaten probably 3/4 of a slice of this pizza, and it would have had, in that slice, I would bet you at least 1.5 grams of diced up dried mushrooms, and it put her in orbit. One minute she would be really happy, she'd be laughing her ass off, and then she'd be crying. It was a interesting 12 hours for my mom.
Do you go through like a psychosis of emotions, or is everybody's experience different? Because I would
assume it would be different for everybody. I've gone through the emotional, like the crying jag kind of buzz, where you reflect. Because as I was saying as we were coming in here, it's one of the most honest you'll ever be with yourself. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not honest with everybody else, you'll still be able to look at all your own shit and say, this is where I'm fucking stuff up. Mm-hmm. And some of the best mushroom trips I've done alone. Mm-hmm. I've just sat on the wharf, just sat watching the ocean all night. Mm-hmm. And that's when you get to figure out a lot of the bullshit problems in your mind. And then you'll spend weeks afterwards compensating for it, and you'll try. I did anyway. I mean, I saw all the places in my life that I was fucking stuff up, fighting with my parents over stupid shit, arguing with girlfriends over stupid shit. And when the next day when you wake up, you remember it. You know what I mean? You get to say, I remember that I was calling myself out there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you have to have a certain level of sophistication or a certain level of self-reflectiveness to have those thoughts, or do you think that those thoughts just flood your brain?
The psilocybin, the drug in the mushroom, will help you get to those thoughts.
So you basically can't avoid it.
No, a lot of times you can't. When I've seen people who want to go out to the bars and they want to party on mushrooms, but they end up crying in the corner over something that happened in like grade 6. It's just something that maybe they did that was so fucking horrible to somebody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That it comes back on them then. Other times you can be in a somewhat depressed mood and take a couple grams of those, and then you're the happiest you could be. Mm-hmm. But if you have a lot of shit that's just underneath the surface, that's bugging you, that's eating at your soul, then you're probably going to call yourself out on it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not saying that everybody should do it. It's a broad generalization. If I was to say that everybody has different, I guess different temperaments or different methods that work for them. I mean, even like when I was thinking back, you just have these random thoughts that pop in your head, like, oh, I remember what happened there, and like, you cringe, and you're like, oh, that was kind of weird, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, well, it led me to this point. And this point isn't always as bad as I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like you have to keep that in mind. And you actually had an interesting experience. You were telling me because you'd been with your wife for what? Well, she was your girlfriend. She wasn't your wife then, but you'd been with her for a little bit of time then, and you proposed to her in a very peculiar way.
I did.
Yeah.
We were together for about 5 years at that point.
Mm.
And what I did, a buddy of mine is a cop in Chatham, and I set it up where he was going to pull me over, and he ran my name, ran my driver's license and everything, and then come back to the car and said, "Are you aware that you have an apprehension warrant for your arrest here in Chatham?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, shit, I haven't done nothing." And he's like, "Well, listen, I ran your name, and it come back, and you have a warrant for your arrest, so shut this car off, get the fuck out." And so I got out. I played along. And then he just turned into like 100% cop. And this is a guy I've known since I was fucking 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he just pushed me up against the car, started searching me, and he placed my right arm in a handcuff and then tapped me on the back. So I reached in with my left hand and grabbed the ring box out of my left side pocket. And then I just reached back and I held on to the other handcuff. And he said to her, like almost, I didn't yell at her, but it was pretty stern, definitely a cop voice, that you need to get out of this vehicle. You need to keep your hands where I can see them at all times. And she had the insurance papers and ownership in her hand, and she was shaking like a leaf. Like she's never really encountered anything like this before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She doesn't have a lot of experience with cops, whereas, I look like the type of fucker that gets arrested on a semi-daily basis.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she got out of the car, and he ordered her to walk back over towards us. And that's when he tapped me on the back and said, "Is there anything you need to ask this woman?" Or no, he said, "Is there anything you need to say to this woman?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I love you more than anything. Will you marry me?" And she just looked at me, froze, like she was just lost. She had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, I'd imagine there'd be some slight confusion.
Oh, yeah. As soon as I leaned forward to go down on one knee, I don't know if she thought I was going to, like, take off in a sprint or something, but that she put her hands up to, like, kind of almost block me from trying to get away. You know what I mean? But, yeah, so I had to ask her a second time. I said, "Listen, like, this is a joke. I've known this guy since I was, like, a child. Will you marry me?" And she's just like, "You're an asshole, but yeah, I'll marry you." But her first response was, "You're an asshole."
Exactly.
But she loved it. We spent months afterwards laughing about it. Just periodically, she would be eating supper, and then it would just come
and just burst out.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and people remember that.
Yeah, and a lot of people that we've told love the story. There's one person, one of her aunts, fucking hated that I did that. She hates it, hates the story.
Yeah, but you also have to think that's a dedicated friend.
Yeah.
If your friend was completely in, cop mode.
Oh, yeah, he was
John
100% cop mode, yeah.
And you really have to respect that because, like, he followed through.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that he would do that for you.
I was kind of hoping I could get it on camera, but he said that if he were to request the footage, his boss would want to know why, like as if he was trying to hide something.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he said, like, my boss wouldn't have a sense of humor about me wasting resources like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
and it was more of just a personal favor for you.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It would have been nice to get it on video, though.
Yeah, but, at least you didn't make it cliche. It was something unique to you. Like, everybody sees guys trying to do it at, like,
baseball games
or fucking basketball.
Ringing a champagne glass.
Yeah, or like I think it was Patton Oswalt told this story. I think I was off that documentary, The Comedians of Comedy.
Yeah.
And he told the story where I think it was at this comedy club he was emceeing, and this guy comes up to him and says, I want you to, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. Could you make an announcement at the start of the show? And he's like, well, let me do some jokes, and then we'll do it in the middle. He's like, no, start of the show. He goes up there. He just opens with that, and the dude's completely blasted out of his mind, of course. Cause,
fuck.
And so, but the worst part is that the girl says no. She's like, I can't do that.
That would suck balls.
Yeah, and then you have to, like, I feel bad for the guy, but could you imagine trying to do a fucking show after that? Like,
now you have to go up and clean up after this clusterfuck. You
cannot top that.
Oh, you couldn't top that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even try. I'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. This wasn't planned, but I can't compete with this. This is the funniest shit you're going to see all weekend. Some guy get his fucking heart ripped out on stage.
Yeah, no, I know. Isn't that funny? Because like we talk about bullying in our society, but we all kind of like to see other people fuck up.
Yeah,
It's,
kind of.
it's
Yeah.
like, what do you think? We watch Wipeout Canada or
Yeah.
see shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I find that working on this bit where we want to watch chaos, but from 50 feet away.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we want to have a safe distance, but we want to feel like we're a part of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Actually, a friend of mine in Minnesota the other day was her birthday. I don't know this girl. We just talk online. But she was at a bar for her birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always, it's almost like she talks a lot of shit, almost try to be gangster.
Mm-hmm.
And then a fucking drive-by happened at the bar she was at. And, you know, so she's always talking, she likes to see chaos. Then she's freaked the fuck out when she's standing in line in this bar and bullets are flying by her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Everybody loves chaos. Just keep it the fuck away from me.
As long as you can get away scot-free.
Yeah, let me watch it on my TV or my laptop. That's about it.
Yeah.
But I actually don't like chaos. I don't like watching violent shit. I hate watching fight videos. I like watching fights.
Yeah.
If two motherfuckers are in a fight, I love watching that. I hate seeing the sucker punch. I'm only 5'2", and I grew up being bullied, so I hate bullies.
Mm-hmm.
I stalk bullies.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I fucking hate people. I hate people being victimized more than anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not able to fight back, there are, you know, and that's a lot of it, or a lot of it is you're outnumbered or shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or you
So-
don't have a fair chance against it, and a lot of the times people won't stand up.
Yeah.
Because
I do. I get myself in trouble
Oh.
all the time sticking
Oh,
up
yeah.
for other people. I get myself into a lot of trouble sticking up for other people. There was an old man about 3 weeks ago at Shell at Tecumseh and Central Ave at the Shell station, and the manager there is a dear friend of mine. Like, she was at my wedding, and there was an old man getting screamed at by some dude in his 30s. The old man went in to pay for his gas that he had already pumped, and some little fucker behind him, just impatient, wanted to get his gas. He got out of his car and right in the old guy's face, "You better hurry the fuck up and get..." And you know what I mean? And I'm watching it. I'm waiting in line for coffee. And I'm watching, and I'm looking like there's 20 people standing there
And
who's
nobody's
not
doing
doing
anything.
anything.
Yep.
So I ignored my coffee, and I just walked the fuck out, and I told this dude, the next word out of your mouth, you're going to get punched dead square in the face.
Mm-hmm.
This old man's not going to do nothing. He's intimidated by you, and you can see that. You've won that. One more word, and I'm going to stomp you the fuck out right here in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't do it. And for what it's worth, he's bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking right he was. He was much bigger than me.
Yeah, but
when it's somebody who's
yeah.
willing, somebody who's just willing to fight back, somebody who's willing to fight back, win, lose, or draw. Nothing says I could guarantee I could beat that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to punch him in the fucking face if he was going to pick on that old man one more word. I grew up being bullied, and it makes me sick. I hate it.
And to me, it's being an alpha male is not about being these big hulking dudes that looks like Brock Lesnar or like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was younger. An alpha male is somebody who not necessarily just stands up for people when they need it, but is secure enough with themselves to not push other people around.
Yeah.
And to have the ability. It's not about having a short man's complex. It's not about feeling like you have to do something.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I feel as if a lot of people would want to do something. They just don't know how. You know what I mean? Because confrontation's tough to deal with. Like, your adrenaline's going, your blood's pumping.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen if the guy's got a weapon or if he's got this and that, but you feel like you have to do something.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's exactly me. I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm looking at someone being victimized that can't fight back, I just throw caution to the wind. And my wife says that to me all the time. You don't know that he doesn't have a gun.
Mm.
I'm like, no, well, you're right. I don't. But
Yeah.
But still, you know, something has to be done. And I do it. I throw myself in situations like that all the time. I just tend to call people out on their bullshit.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, being an alpha male is not about being physical. It's more of an attitude.
Yeah.
It's an attitude saying, like, come in my backyard. I got you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you want to start something. And the funny thing is that even though guys will puff out their chest and try and act tough, very few people are tough.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, I heard this somewhere. Just a lot of, like, fighters don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to.
Yeah, you look at UFC fighters. They're calm. You know what I mean? You can take them to a bar and let people talk shit because this is a guy who fights for a living. He knows what he's capable of, and he knows that 90% of the population is not a physical threat to that guy.
No.
You know what I mean? So they don't have to walk around with their chest puffed out and, being douchebags. I'm sure there are MMA fighters who are just pricks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for the most part, they're confident with who they are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
They fight for a living, so they get the answer. Am I tough? Am I tough? And that's a lot of it is insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a lot of bullies, it's just insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
But when you fight often, you have that answer.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to walk around questioning it. So you don't have to act like a douchebag. You just know that if it ever goes down, I can handle it.
Mm-hmm. And it's about having the confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you find that the people that have the strongest opinion have the dumbest opinion.
Yeah.
And they're the most confident.
Yeah.
It's like an equation that's set up for disaster.
Yeah. The one argument I got over the price of food, I posted on Arms Boomin' Legs post about the price of food, and I went into my little chicken rant, and this one lady just typed back to me. She typed cost and quality, and I'm like, well, for starters, the cost is my complaint, fucker.
It was like the woman that said $6 actually.
Yeah, like pretty
that.
much. And I said, like, the cost is my argument, and the quality, like, what has been the major breakthrough in anything? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Don't hit me with cost and quality. Hit me with, I would rather just be told they're fucking us because they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people like hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with the internet. Gives everybody
it's
access.
The keyboard tough guys. You can say whatever the fuck you want, unrestrained. You don't have to answer to anything. And people on YouTube, like if they ever crack down on YouTube, most of the populace would be in jail.
Everybody's going to jail.
God is my witness. I had a dude, and I don't have a daughter. I have a stepdaughter. But I had a dude threaten to rape my daughter and wipe the blood off on her pillowcase before he left.
What?
And this is an American dude.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So it's not like I have access to this little fucker. You know what I mean? Where I could just go and choke him out. But I thought, he says stuff like that with no fear of reprisals. Because he knows it's just the internet. Nobody can give me shit for that. And that comment is probably still on my video today. Somebody's looking in here.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
Okay, buddy.
No worries. It was great to have you, Wayne.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I had a blast.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to have you on again. Like I said, Squeaky Unclean Podcast 13 on 13.
Friday the 13th, bitches. Here we are.
I think that's what I'm going to call this one.
And Comedy Quarry tonight.
Yeah, Comedy Quarry tonight. Come check it out. Brian McKeegan's there. He's there all
I think it's Brendan, isn't it?
Brendan McKeegan.
That dude is fucking funny.
Yeah, he's a very high-energy comic.
Yeah.
There was a room of 8 people there last night, but he
rocked that room.
He stuck to his stuff, and I respect somebody who sticks to their stuff. They can acknowledge that it's awkward and that it's weird, but he's like, no, I'm just going to do the show.
Yeah, he was very awesome. You and me were upstairs writing earlier, so I didn't get to see the first guy, but my wife said he was just as good. Different style. Yeah. But we went downstairs for that Brandon McKeegan for the ass end of his show anyway, and he was fucking high energy. He was good.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come check out the Comedy Quarry this weekend.
We'll see you there.
Brandon McKeegan. And stay tuned for local comedy. I got a show coming up this Sunday at Villains Improv Show.
This Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday. Then Cam Adamson, a good friend of mine, he's been on the podcast before. He was on with Kate Davis. He's turning 30.
30?
Yeah, I know. He's an old man.
He actually invited me to his birthday.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we get out of here, I just want to say thanks to all the fucking local Windsor comedians. They're a great support structure for somebody who's just starting out. Some of the nicest compliments I've heard from people are from funny comics. And I think it's awesome.
Well, thanks, man. Like I said, we're
you've been one of my biggest fucking supporters, man. That's how we met, was you saying, good job.
I support everybody, because when I first started, man, there's no comedy scene here. So the fact that we even have more than 10 guys that are doing it, and an actual foundation that we're setting, a support group, means the world. Yeah. Because like I said, nobody was doing it, and it's nice to see other guys come up. And, if you're not giving back, and if you're not helping somebody flourish, and you just want to suppress people and make yourself feel better, what are you really trying to prove?
Yeah, exactly.
How strong are you actually as a performer and as a person? But yeah, anyways, thanks for listening. This has been episode 13 of the Squeaky Unclean Podcast. Check out live comedy, Dave Squeaky Wheels, Squeaky Unclean Podcast on Facebook. Check out Twitter, Dave Squeaky Wheels, Wayne Bowles as well on Facebook. Hit up Sober Ride if you're ever not sober and you need to get home and you want your car. It's a very resourceful tool. I know people that have used it. Nothing but great reviews and high praise.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks again, guys. Take care, Squeak Freaks, and you have a great day. And don't watch horror movies today.
Yeah, peace out, bitches.
See you guys.